Hello, welcome to TRDR.tv. My name is Robert Sievers. Today we're here with a special guest, Damon Verial from StockBarometer.com and DamonVerial.com. How are you doing today, Damon?
I'm doing fine.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us today. Are you ready to get started?
Yeah.
Excellent. So my first question is, how did you first become interested in the financial markets?
It actually goes back to university when I was doing my statistics and mathematics undergrad. I took a class called stochastic, like it was stochastic mathematics, and what we were doing was pricing options. So if you don't know what options are, they're basically contracts that give you the right to buy or sell a stock. And at that time, I wasn't trading, but moving on from there to where I am now, I realized that course was very useful because it brought me into the idea of options trading.
Okay.
So I started basically with the academic stuff in university, but I didn't start trading until later, until, what most people do is they accumulate money and they don't know where to put that money. Then they start researching investing. And for me, what I did is I thought back to what I did in undergrad school, and I just realized, hey, I could probably apply this stuff, and I started to look into it.
Okay. And I know that you live in Asia, so did you go to school in Asia as well, or was that somewhere else where you did your education?
Well, my university was in the University of Washington in Seattle,
Okay.
but I did my graduate school in Taiwan.
Okay.
So I've got two undergrads. I got an undergrad in mathematics and statistics, and then I have a graduate degree in psychology.
Impressive. You were prepared educationally as well. Most other people, it seems like they kind of just fall into trading a little bit, but it seems like a lot of your education actually kind of really supports that, and so it's that's good to hear for all the people that are looking to check out DamonVerial.com or Stock Barometer.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think you need an education for trading. I
Okay.
think you can just start with a high school diploma and start trading. And there's one thing that you'll learn if you go that route. There's a lot of traders who kind of poo-poo the academic portion of trading because
Okay.
there's a lot of textbooks on trading, and then there's a lot of applied traders, and they're kind of against each other in terms of theory, but really they overlap. What the academics do is they describe what the practitioners do, and what the practitioners do is they kind of ignore the academics, but you can actually find there's a synergy between both of those areas. So there's no reason to think you need a degree to trade, but there's also no reason to think that a degree will hinder you from being a good trader.
Okay. What did you what kind of assets do you typically trade? So I know you talked a little bit about how you do options and about how you took the class on options, but do you also trade normal stocks as well? Do you trade penny stocks? Do you trade blue chips?
Well, I used to trade penny stocks because I have a strategy on trading penny stocks.
Okay.
It's simply you don't ever buy a penny stock directly. What you do is you look at the resistance for a certain penny stock and you put a limit order to buy that penny stock above that resistance.
Okay.
That way, if the penny stock breaks out of that resistance level, you buy it as soon as it breaks out, and it usually will go upward. And if you're looking at your account every day, you'll be able to avoid the pump and dumps.
Okay.
So the idea is that you get the penny stock as soon as it breaks out, and you're able to watch it every day and then sell it as soon as you see it start to fall. So it's almost a risk-free strategy. But other than penny stocks, I don't really buy stocks unless I used to buy dividend stocks
Okay.
because they have an advantage over options. Options can't give you dividends after all. But if you get advanced enough in options, you'll find that there's really no reason to ever buy stocks, because what you can do with options is create what's called a synthetic position, where you mimic the stock 100% equally, but instead of having to spend money to buy the stock, you actually gain money for opening that position.
Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you for giving us a little bit of an explanation about that. How long would you say one of your typical trades lasts with the options?
With the options, I do anywhere from a day trade to a monthly trade. So I will look at, for example, if we want to talk about a monthly trade, I'll look at the seasonal pattern of maybe the Dow Jones index components, and I'll find that maybe Visa does really poorly in May, but American Express does great in May. And by analyzing those statistically, maybe I'll see like out of the past 20 years, American Express has on average gone up 3% every May. Well, I'm going to buy an option for American Express, a call option for American Express, so that I can get that gains. But for Visa, I might buy a put so to go down and I'll get those gains that way. So that's a seasonal play, but I don't have like a very clear set time frame. I'll go anywhere from a day trade to a seasonal trade. A day trade could just be simply a candlestick pattern that I see that's
Okay.
very reliable on a certain stock. And I know with maybe 80% probability that tomorrow that stock will go upward. So at the beginning of the market open, I'll buy options on that stock, and then I'll sell it at the end of the market, regardless of what happens. And that's basically my trading strategy for a day trade.
Okay. And then do you incorporate all of these strategies or all of these types of trades into your education process as well? Do you teach all of them, or do you only teach certain types of strategies?
At the moment, I have a lot of different courses and services, but I don't specifically teach day trading or seasonal trading.
Okay.
What I do through my newsletters at the moment is usually teaching earnings trading
Okay.
and technical trading. So that's the first one. Earnings trading is speculating on what's going to happen to a certain stock when they release the earnings report. Second one, technical trading, is something pretty much anyone could do without having to pay attention to fundamentals or to news. All you have to do is look at the charts and then figure out when you buy, when you sell, and it's usually based on swing trading or position trading. So our positions are held for a matter of weeks or a matter of days. I also have a service where I use an algorithm that I have programmed that gives us signals, whether to buy or to sell a stock, and I just send those out through email and I tell people, hey, um, you should buy this today and you should sell it on, a week later. I can't teach you that because it's an algorithm and I want to keep it, private.
Yeah, it's
So
understandable.
yeah, but in terms of earnings, technical trades, gap trading, that stuff is usually, if to answer your question, it's more like a swing trade. So it usually lasts a week or two.
Okay. Well, I mean, that sounds like you kind of have a very all-inclusive group. I mean, a lot of different sort of strategies that are kind of incorporated into the different websites. Like I know from my own personal research, I was looking on DamonVerial.com, and there's some you have a course on gap game plan, how to start investing with $500, market crash, stock chart reading, trading psychology. And then on stockbarometer.com, it looked like there was actually a couple different traders that contribute content to stockbarometer.com. But just from you, it looked like there was price gap stock trader, penny stock breakouts, stock options, ETF money machine, bear market hedging strategies. There was just a lot of different content up there. So my question to you is, if I was a beginner trader or an intermediate trader or an advanced trader, and I'm looking to maybe check out some of the content that you've created on both of those websites, where would you recommend that I look? Where would you recommend that I start searching so that I can actually get a hold of some of your educational content?
Okay. So if you're a beginner trader, I would say try to save your money and don't spend it on courses if you can.
Okay.
On DamonVero.com, if you can check out the gap method, I'm not sure if you can find it easily through the menu, but you could at least Google it, type the gap method.
Okay.
That's a free guide on trading gaps. And if you want to go more in depth with that, you can buy the gap game plan, which is a very comprehensive source on trading price gaps. If you don't know what price gaps are, it's essentially the idea of when you look at a candlestick chart and you see a space between two candlesticks, which is rather rare, but they're becoming more common these days. So let's say you have a candlestick here and a candlestick there, but there's empty space between them. There are statistical properties about that gap that'll tell you whether that gap closes, which means the stock goes down to fill that gap, or whether the gap widens, which means the stock goes up, getting away from the gap.
Yeah.
The gaps actually have meanings. So let's say you have a gap that's very wide and we have a lot of volume associated with that gap. That could be a gap associated with an earnings report. And if we see the appropriate candlesticks, what we do is we bet against the gap filling. So we'll just continue moving upward. Now, this is not a very common trading strategy, but these days when the market is occupied by at least 50% algorithms and high frequency traders, we can't just rely on the standard technical indicators because most of these programs are using them. So
Okay.
we have to find some sort of, if we're going to be a technical trader, we have to find some sort of novel way to trade in the market. And as far as I know, there's no other courses that talk about gap trading. So if you're interested in this concept, you should, at least visit the gap method, which is free. And if you're more interested in learning in depth about what gaps are, check out the gap game plan.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I've done a little bit of research about like gap up, gap down trading, and I'm guessing that's kind of what a little bit of what you're talking about. And from my experience, it's a little bit more of kind of like an intraday sort of trading, like usually after the pre-market or the post-market, right, is when they kind of have a lot of the
Well,
gaps that
well, what I'm
happen.
what I'm doing is intraday actually,
Okay.
because I have the statistics on those.
Okay.
But like you said, intraday gaps are also prevalent. I just don't have the statistical data on those to make suggestions on how to play them. So if someone actually comes out with that in the future, that'd be great. But my trades are more like swing trades than day trades.
Okay. And then the same kind of question, but for intermediate and advanced as well. I mean, would you recommend maybe doing some of like the talking about trading psychology or the ETF money machine, stock options? Is that a little bit more of the intermediate advanced courses that you can take?
Once you get into at least an intermediate level, you probably know what kind of trades you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So the way to improve yourself is either with the assets that you're using to trade. So maybe you want to switch from stocks to options, or maybe you want to use a different type of trading method instead of just buying. Well, we could talk about that later, but you might want to switch the assets you're trading, but you also might want to switch the way you manage your money.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, it's really a question as to how how profitable are your trades and how many of them are profitable. If you're doing like 60% and above being profitable, you probably want to focus on getting that profit up. So that would probably be in regard to switching from stock to options.
Okay.
But let's say you're making money, but you're barely cutting it. In that case, you're probably not making 60% or 70% accurate trades. And in that case, you probably want to look into your trading strategy and figure out one that's more reliable. So at the intermediate level, I think people should look at these two separate aspects. Are your trades profitable in terms of percentage?
Mm-hmm.
And are your trades profitable in terms of ROI? Are you just taking a small percent of, maybe 3% per trade, or are you getting 20% per trade? And the latter would be more likely to be seen in an options trade.
Okay. Do you mind me asking what sort of percentages you have of profitable trades?
For in terms of ROI for our stock barometer options newsletter, we're somewhere around 80%.
Okay. Wow.
And we play pretty much every strategy. So we're not just doing directional trades. We're also playing with theta, which is the idea of time decay
Okay.
in an option. So unlike stock, an option has time decay, and you're losing money every day by holding an option. But if you sell an option, you're gaining money every day.
Okay.
So that's one aspect of making money through an option. There's also the idea of volatility. If a stock becomes more volatile and you're holding an option that's called long vega, in other words, you're buying volatility, in that case, you're making money even if the stock doesn't really move upward for a long time or downward for a long time. It could go up fast, down fast, but then end up exactly at the same point.
Okay.
So let's say it goes from 10 to 30 and then back to 20 when you bought it.
Yeah.
If you have an option that's long vega, you still make money that way. So the
Okay.
benefit of trading options is that you can make money in multiple ways and you don't have to be right in guessing the market every time. So that's what I usually recommend to people who aren't really good at predicting which way the market is going to go. If they find that half of their trades are wrong and half of their trades are right, they may as well be flipping die. But what they could do is they can look into how to trade options where you don't have to be right every time, but you just have to understand that some stock is going to be more volatile, and the volatility is going to increase maybe before earnings, for example, or some stock is going to trend sideways, and you can actually profit from sideways trending stock by going long on theta, which is the time decay of an option.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I mean, that was a good kind of description of the different things that you have to offer as far as options and kind of stocks and the different things on stockbarometer.com. But I think that is going to be the majority of the time that we have for today. Was there anything else that you wanted to add before we go? Anything else that you wanted to talk about? Any specific features on Stock Barometer or on your YouTube or DamonVerial.com?
Well, like I said, you can check out my guide for free at DamonVerial.com. Also, I just released a guide for trading with only $500. If you only have a small amount of money to get started with on trading, you can check that guide out. So we assume that you only have $500 or $200, some small amount, and we teach you the basics of option trading directional strategies. So check those two ideas out, and send me an email if you have any questions.
Of course, and we'll include your email in the description for the YouTube video. But I think that's going to be the amount of time that we have for today. So thank you very much, Damon, for joining us. For anybody else who's interested in kind of checking out some of his content, he has DamonVerial.com, StockBarometer.com, which will also be in the description as well, so you can check those out. Thank you very much, Damon. Have a nice day.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. See ya. So like I said, definitely it's worth checking out Damon's websites. And if you'd like to get a little bit of an introduction on kind of his teaching strategy, his educational strategy, and also the strategies that he implements in his trading, you can check out his YouTube. There are a couple different things like options trading basics, synthetic long options, 5 best dividend stocks, market crash versus market correction. So I highly recommend going to go check out a few of those things if you'd like to get an idea of kind of what his strategies are. So thank you very much for joining us here on Trader TV. Have a nice day and good luck with your trades.